Good evening and welcome to the Corporate Service Committee meeting. This is meeting number 5. Today is Monday, June the 16th, and I am your chair, Shelley Broderick. I have just a couple of notes to the public. All cell phones, pagers, and PDAs are to be turned off. Members of the public who are attending, and particularly virtual, are reminded to keep their microphones muted until they are acknowledged to speak. Additionally, for your information, please be advised that this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and will be available on the Township website. Another couple of comments for us tonight is that comments can be made from members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of the agenda. 2, the public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 p.m. on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meetings. Comments submitted are included in the record. And again, this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township website. The Land Acknowledgement Statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands in which we live. Is there any change in order of the items on the agenda? I see none. 4, looking for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest. Any? None to report. There are no appointments for this evening. Item number 6, request to address items on the agenda. 1 hour in total should be allocated for this section of the agenda, and each individual person shall only be provided with 5 minutes to address their issue. Some exceptions may apply. A response may or may not be provided, and the matter may be referred to staff. I'm going to see if there's any members of the public that wish to address any items on the Corporate Service Committee agenda. Seeing none, and asking Kevin if there's anyone virtual.
Not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item 7, consent agenda items. There is none for tonight. And brings us to number 8, communications. 8.1, item CS 43-25, request for fireworks display at 317 Camborough Street, Saturday, July 12, 2025. The recommendation is that the request received from Sherry Shrum to host a fireworks display on July 12, 2025 at 317 Camborough Street, Smithville, be approved with the exception of a dry weather advisory or fire ban. Can I have a mover? Councillor Maychuk, second by Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions? Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go through you to the clerk's department and inquire on, in this request, it looks like it was just put together to be compliant. In fact, I think this location is literally across the road from us here. And so I don't really have any objection. I just want to see clarity because it doesn't say anything here about the time of day they plan on doing it. I assume it's in the evening, but I just want to verify that perhaps if this is supported tonight, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be. I know there's one exception about dry weather advisory and fire ban, but also that it is permitted before the hours of what we've normally done. I think we've allowed it to go as late as midnight, but I just want to see if you know that answer, if they share that, or if that's something that is a question. So,
through the chair to Councillor Riley, I believe that they noted that the fireworks would start around 8 to 9 p.m. I don't know if they had mentioned that to the deputy chief. However, they did assure us that it wouldn't be too late. The individual involved is an elderly person. I think they said around 8 to 9, if my memory serves me. It was before the limitation of where the noise bylaw would take place.
beauty. Thank you. That's all I had.
Mayor Gannan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that This is across the road, but it's actually down the laneway, and the yard that they're talking about using actually goes on to the Terra Place Circle. So it's much more open than if you were to just think about it being right across the road and in one of those backyards that may or may not be very big. There's certainly lots of space, and it overhangs an area where it's very open. So to reassure any residents who think that this is going to happen in a very small backyard, it's not. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, the vote will come in front of you. And that carries. Okay, moving on. Number 9, staff reports. There are no staff reports. Item 10, other business, 10.1. Item CS44-25, Director of Corporate Services, CFO, Caitlin Repoffs. Re-memo Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Intake 2, bracket HEWSF 2, Transfer Payment Agreement, TPA bylaw. Recommendation 1, that the memo from Caitlin Repoffs, Director of Corporate Services/Treasurer, regarding the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Intake 2, dated June 16, 2025, be received, and 2, that Council pass a bylaw such as the one attached as Schedule B. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chichuk, second by Mayor Ganan. And Director, do you have any comments about the report? Or, I'm sorry, not report, the memo?
Thank you, Chair Broderick. Just to summarize, so this memo is just in response to a requirement from the province in order to move forward with our transfer payment agreement for the successful grant application that we were successful in, and that, just to remind Council, that was announced back in late January, and it is regarding the replacement and upsizing of water and sanitary sewer mains along Regional Road 20 and Wade Road. Thank you.
Our big win, for sure. Is there any other comments or questions from any other members of Council? And the vote will come in front of you. And that carries. 10.2, item CS45-25. Members of committee, any verbal updates from members of boards and committees if required. And I'll make my way around the horseshoe, starting with Councillor Chichuk.
Nothing at this point.
And
Thank you, Madam
Councillor
Chair.
Riley?
I am surprisingly good.
Oh, you do, or you don't?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. And Councillor Trombetta, Mayor Ganan? Okay, well, moving along to new business. Oh, no, sorry, I missed item 10.3, item CS 46-25, other business items of informative nature. Does anyone have anything? On to new business, only items that require immediate attention, direction, and must first approve a motion to introduce a new item of business. Does anyone have anything? No. Okay, we're confidential matters. That the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239, bracket 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. Recommendation is 12.1, Manager, Legislative Clerk, Services/Clerk Justin Paylove, Citizen Appointments on Boards and Committees, Age-Friendly Advisory Committee, application provided under separate cover. Application closed session exemption, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee. Manager of Legislative Services/Justin Paylove, Citizen Appointment on Boards and Committee, Age-Friendly Advisory Committee. Do I have a mover to go into confidential? Councillor Trombetta, second by Councillor Riley. and the vote will come in front of you. And that carries. We will now go into closed session. Welcome back to our quick confidential meeting. I'm going to turn to the clerk as he has a disclosure of our confidential matter.
Through the chair to the rest of council and to members of the public, council passed a resolution in close, which reads as follows. That the following person be and are hereby appointed to serve on the following committee until their successor is appointed. 1, West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee, Christine Hopwood, and that a bylaw be presented at the June 23rd, 2025 council meeting to amend bylaw 2023-03, being the appointment bylaw for boards and committees, specifically Schedule A, West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee.
Very good, thank you. And that brings us to 14, our adjournment. I declare this meeting adjourned at the hour of 6:50, and I believe that's a record.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's second portion of tonight's meeting, our Community and Protective Service Committee. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Note to the public, may submit written comments to the matters to jpaylove, westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by committee. Comments received after 4:30 on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included on the record, and this meeting is also live streamed and recorded on the Township's website. We have our land acknowledgement statement that the Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in rich history as the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as a part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, promoting the wise stewardships on the land in which we live. Members of committee, I don't think there is any change in orders items on the agenda. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Will there see no appointments? I'm taking there's no one to request any items on the agenda.
Not seeing any.
We're moving to consent, and we have none of those, so we'll move to communications. Item CPS 1025. Zoe Gunn, Secretary Treasurer of the West Niagara Agricultural Society, requests for a designation of the 2025 West Niagara Fair as a community festival. The recommendation reads that the correspondence from Zoe Gunn, Secretary Treasurer of the West Niagara Agricultural Society, dated May 15, 2025, requesting that the 2025 West Niagara Fair be designated as a community festival in order to obtain a special events permit from the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission and be received, and that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln hereby designates the 2025 West Lincoln Fair as a community festival of municipal significance in accordance with the Liquor License Act of Ontario and the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, which festival is to be held on Friday, September 5th to and including Sunday, September 7th, 2025 at the West Niagara Agricultural Centre, 7402 Mud Street, Grassy, Ontario, LOR 1MO. Members of committee, I need a mover, and I see Councillor Chichuk, I see Councillor Bradrick as a seconder. Any comments or questions on this recommendation? Seeing none, the vote will be in front of you from the clerk. Moving on to, that carries, sorry. I figured it was going to carry, sorry. Moving on to item CPS 1125, Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, the minutes of May 7th. The recommendation that the minutes of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee meeting dated May 7th, 2025 be received. Members of the committee need a mover. Councillor Riley, seconded by Councillor Maychuk. Comments or questions on the recommendation? Seeing none, the vote will be in front of you. And that carries. Moving on to staff reports, item CPS 1225, Fire Chief Tim Hofsink, Information Report WLFD 04 2025 monthly update, May 2025. The recommendation reads the Information Report WLFD 04 2025 titled Monthly Update, May 2025, dated June 16, 2025, be received for information. Members of committee, I need a mover for that. Councillor Riley, seconded by Mayor Ganan. Comments or questions on Mr. Hofsink's report? Seeing none, the vote will be in front of you, members of committee. And that carries. Item CPS 1325, Director of Community and Protective Services, Cynthia Summers, Information Report CS 07 2025, 120-day overview of the West Lincoln Community Center and Recreation Programming. This recommendation reads that the information report titled A 120-day overview of the West Lincoln Community Center and Recreation Programming dated June 16, 2025 be received. I need a mover for that. Councillor Chichuk, seconded by Councillor Maychuk. Comments or questions, committee? Seeing none. Oh, we have one. Councillor Bradrick. Just got it in just in time.
I got to slow you down a little bit, but through you, Chair, to the Director, thank you very much for your report. Very exciting. waited a long time to see some changes coming our way, and just want to commend you and your department on the exciting changes that we're going to be seeing in West Lincoln in the area of recreation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind comments, and I look forward to this too. It is exciting, so thank you. Oh, I should have said through the chairs.
That's okay. No worries. Thank you, Councillor Bradwick. Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? None? Oh, Councillor Maychuk, go ahead.
Through the chair, just really quick, any highlights that you can mention for those maybe watching or the community at large in terms of what you would like to share with them?
Perfect this, okay. I think, through the chair to the councillor, I think what's really exciting is a vision that involves the community, community engagement, community ideas, your constituents, seeing what they want reflected in the Recreation and Parks portfolio at West Lincoln. There's so many areas for new opportunities, collaboration, as well as areas where we can bring in more fees for the area, fee restructuring, for example. But I think we want to see and I hope when I say we, I think we're all having the vision that we want to see the community center utilized as a community hub and see it busy and full. And we want to see the staff supported with proper training and the resources to be able to provide not just services, but excellent services that are relevant to West Lincoln. And I can feel it beginning, the excitement of making these changes. So that's my high level.
Thank you, Councillor Maychuk. Mayor Gannett.
Since everybody's weighing in, I thought I would too.
Sure.
One of the things that I think is really exciting that I see in this report is the improved use of part-time staff in terms of sharing responsibilities for programming. We have a lot of very talented young people, a lot of people who can really step up and help to deliver some programs, especially for younger children, as long as there's, they've had proper training. And the fact that you're sort of looking at that, as somebody who was a playground soupy all through my teenage years, and then was, a camp leader, I think those kinds of opportunities are not only good to provide programming, but so very good for the young people who are being given those leadership roles. So I think that that's a really great step in the right direction. So thank you for that.
Through the chair to councillor, to the mayor. No, thank you very much for those comments. I think it's really exciting, the idea of us not only providing programming, but providing training for future leaders and for providing employment. So even with the part-time staff we have now, the plan is to provide them with more training to do their jobs more efficiently and more safely now, but this is also a learning that will enable them in their future too to do better.
Great. Anything else, Madam Mayor? Thank you. Okay, members of the committee, if there's no more questions, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there.
I'll make a statement. How about that?
Okay.
Again, just to echo my colleagues here, I think what you've done has been incredible. From the minute you stepped in, you've really turned this part of our organization around, and you've really brought it to a new level that I think our community is going to really benefit from, between the increased programming to even the exploration of different opportunities and unique things that come down the road. I think our community owes you a great deal of gratitude. Thank you for all that you've done. We look forward to seeing what else you do going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just echo the comments that are made by my colleagues around the table. There has been a big drastic difference that we've seen. So, I guess let's keep moving forward and keep moving forward effectively like we're doing. So,
Thank you all.
No. So now, you started with me there, Councillor Riley. I didn't catch you, caught me off guard there. But now, if there's any more further questions, I'll call the vote, Mr. Clerk. And that carries. Moving on to item CPS 1425, Director of Community Services and Protective Services, Cynthia Summers. Recommendation Report CS 05-2025 Live Barn Agreement. The Recommendation Report CS 05-2025 titled Live Barn Agreement dated June 16, 2025 be received, and that council approve the agreement between Live Barn, Inc. and the Township of West Lincoln for live streaming services at the West Lincoln Community Center for a 4-year term with a 2-year renewal clause, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Live Barn. Need a mover and seconder for that, members of committee? Councillor Maychuk, seconded by Councillor Bradwick. Comments or questions? Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go through you to the clerk. The clerk and I have had some conversations as I was seeking clarity on some information earlier, and I think it's good dialogue to have. You know, we have people that put their applications forward. It's open to basically anybody who wants to put their name forward. And new this year is an organization that I hadn't really heard of before, and I see an allocation of about $1,000 out of their $2,000 request, and being. Am I on the wrong report? Are we on Live Barn?
Yeah.
My apologies, Mr. Chair. I will.
Do you want to talk about Live Barn?
I got it. I clicked the wrong thing here. We want to talk about Live Barn. I have no problem with Live Barn. I actually jumped the item here. So, if you can remember those, when we come back to the next report, I will pick up from there.
Live Barn in here.
I have nothing negative to say about Live Barn.
All
I think
right.
it's a great opportunity. You had me at 30%, if you know what that means.
Councillor Maychuk.
Through the chair, I think this too is exciting. I think it's great when parents and grandparents who unfortunately can't watch their kids play hockey, that they might have the opportunity during after hours to view them. I had mentioned in a previous meeting, I know it's not quite there yet, but in the future, I'm hoping that they could expand the program to things at the rec center and the Santa Claus Parade and some community events. So again, people, especially those that are shut in or isolated, can see some of the things that are happening in the town. So if you could pass that on to Live Barn, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, absolutely, I'll pass it on. I actually did have a conversation with them following our committee meeting or our preparation meeting, and they don't provide that service now. But I did have a conversation with the CAO as well, saying, are there other providers who could provide that to us for other events? So that will be something we will look into.
Excellent. I think it's a good service. I've been over myself playing hockey in many arenas. They do have it at many arenas. You have the screens outside. Is that sort of the same concept? Is it going to have the TV screens outside if someone doesn't need to sit right by that they can sit and watch on the outside?
Yes, they provide a television screens outside. They also allow you, if you subscribe, to watch any hockey game anywhere. So it doesn't have to just be the hockey that's going on in West Lincoln. You have access to 99 municipalities at this point. You'll see in the report it says there's 98. They've recently have a new municipality joining on. So it really does open up opportunities for coaches to watch players and yes, some fees. We will be assigned our own membership number for the subscription, and we'll be able to advertise that if they buy them from us, meaning West Lincoln, that they'll get 10% off their subscription for as long as they keep the subscription. So I'll be following everyone saying, hey, tell people about this subscription when we're ready to go live.
Yeah, excellent. Councillor Shisha.
Well, everybody's just full of compliments tonight. I thought I should say something. I'm very happy about this, Ms. Summers, and if you get our application in there pretty quickly, we'll be number 100. And since we couldn't beat the great Gretzky, 99, we could be number 100. What a special thing for us. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
So through the chair, I do know that Live Barn is watching, so depending on the evening, I could have things rolling by tomorrow. I like that 100 idea. Thank you.
Like I said, it's a really good service, to watch kids play, but it wasn't really good watching myself. I thought I was fast out there. Then when I saw how slow I was on the screen, it's really shocking to actually see. So, Councilor Riley, anything?
Yeah, I'll just add something quickly. So when I was reading the report here, one of the things that stood out to me was also the potential revenue. And that 30% that we potentially get based on obviously subscription and everything else, definitely really, you had me there. So I, as someone who's always looking for, passive income opportunities for the community and in unique ways of kind of generate a little bit extra dollars that we could put towards recreation or other facets of the community. That was great to see that there is an opportunity there, and it's also serving a wonderful service for those who rely on it, and then hopefully the taxpayers can benefit from that as well in the meantime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, members of the committee? Councilor Maychuk?
Just one last comment through the chair that if they're looking to do bloopers, we'll give them Councilor Trembetta's
Absolutely.
schedule
There's a lot of them.
and make for well-watched and a lot of
Turtle
new
pace.
subscriptions.
It's real turtle pace out there.
Through the chair, I'll pass that on as well.
Thank you. Absolutely. Any other members of the committee? Mr. Clerk? Thank you. Okay, members of the committee, and that carries unanimously. Members of the committee, moving on to item CPS 1525, Director of Community and Protective Services, Cynthia Summers. No, that's right, yeah, sorry. Lost my space there. Recommendation Report CS 06 2025, 2025 Community Sponsorships and Cemeteries and Hall Boards, sorry? That was Justin? Okay, so we'll let Justin have that report. Hall Board grants, then the recommendation reads CS 06 2025 titled 2025 Community Sponsorships and Cemetery and Hall Board grants dated be received, and that the community sponsorship and cemetery and the Hall Board grants for 2025 as recommended be approved. So members of the committee, name mover and seconder, Mayor Ganan, seconded by Councilor Riley. Do you want to touch on this one this time around, Councilor Riley?
Hopefully I'm better the second time than I was the first time. Yes, Mr. Chair, through you to our clerk. So as I mentioned briefly there, I had a conversation today with our clerk, just trying to get a better understanding of some of the I guess the recommendations of those who are going to receive grant money. One of the, I'm just trying to bring it up here. One of the groups that come out there new, first time applying to our grant system, and for those who don't realize, obviously you don't have to be an organization within West Lincoln. We do have rules that there has to be tied somehow servicing West Lincoln, but being that it's a new organization that's not necessarily guaranteed to succeed, or we don't really know what their long-term proposal is, it does beg the question if it takes money away from other services that are established within our community, such as 4-H, just to name a couple that are going to be receiving a little less than their request, and so I'll let the clerk speak to what him and I were talking about a little bit today to kind of give people a better understanding of what's happening here. But I just have a little bit of concerns that we're funding other organizations when we have current ones that are doing everything they can and they're already established and they're doing what they can to support our community.
Through the chair to Councilor Riley and to the rest of council. So the board application process is open to all. We get quite a few applicants. Usually it's the usual suspects, as council sees throughout their annual reports that they see every year and every term of council. It's usually the common ones, similar to what Councilor Riley had listed off. 4-H is a popular one. Amongst others. This was a relatively new one. Council has received other applicants from certain organizations outside of West Lincoln's borders. However, usually administration denies them with the approval of council, as they don't really directly serve West Lincoln. This one, however, when it came through, they explicitly stated, and administration had followed up with them to ensure that what they were offering would occur in West Lincoln's borders with West Lincoln students, which they did agree. They're offering experiential learning services to school children. And the way that this grant was structured, where they were requesting 2 for 50 students. Obviously, we hadn't really involved ourselves with this organization before, and we wanted to ensure that our existing organizations got the funding that they had needed and was in line with previous funding models, but also trying out new ones and not turning away certain organizations that could benefit greatly to West Lincoln. So this one came from a strong organization that has roots in southwestern Ontario, just not in West Lincoln originally. So they operate with the funding in which that when they get the $1,000, that's when they plan the experiential learning cause, not the other way around. We don't put it in a pot. It's specifically for West Lincoln. So I believe that they will explore that in later in the school year, or early next school year, sorry, so September, around that timeline. However, it's experiential learning, so 25 students will have the opportunity to learn new things outside of the curriculum. However, they still work with the school boards. So that's why you see that new one offered to council. Southwestern Junior Achievement Award, I believe it's called, is the group. We still maintain that the original institutions and organizations receive funding in line with what they usually receive, if not a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the request. However, we wanted to encourage new applicants and new possibilities of organizations in West Lincoln to gain roots and also to maybe help in different ways that we haven't experienced before.
Perfect, thank you. And I appreciate you explaining that to the public there, as it was more of a learning thing for me as well today. The other question I have, Mr. Chair, and more of a, maybe a general conversation, I don't know, but I'll go back to the clerk, to the clerk there, is I'm going to speak to our cemetery requests and the grants offered. So this year, when you look at the form there, we have people or organizations that have requested X amount of dollars that are getting more than their request, while we have others that are getting significantly less than their request. And I understand there's a formula behind it, and I'll let you explain that formula. But I guess one of my concerns is if someone has asked for something, and even if there's a formula, if they're getting more than what they asked for, but another organization might not meet the capacity of that formula, but still might be struggling with the pressures of cost and maybe the ability or inability to find cheaper solutions, are we really doing a service by giving others who aren't necessarily needing it, or maybe not needing it but not requesting more, and those who are requesting a little bit more significantly less? So that's my concern around that.
Through the chair to Councilor Riley and for the rest of council's benefit. So you are right, there is an algorithm, or at least there's a system in which we apply the grants, and to meet a minimum standard that the township has determined what would be required to administer that service relative to what the township offers as a service, as we do grass cutting and maintaining certain areas. I believe that number is around $1,700 in that ballpark. You'll see, I believe the first cemetery there receives substantially more than the others. It is because it's substantially larger than the others. And based on the land allotment that we have specified for each one, that is what the township, through this fair open source algorithm that we do use, this is what we have determined that they would require. You'll note, and I think you note the outlier there, which is Kimbo, which received a little bit more. So the township has a certain amount of money that they can give out to cemeteries, and I believe Councilor Trombetta also had this question.
Yes, I did, yeah.
You have a certain amount of money that you can give to the cemeteries, and as per the algorithm allows, we had a little bit more money in our pot to give out to the cemeteries. However, there was a need identified in Kimbo specifically. This is where we note that there's certain, sometimes special circumstances where they request that there's greater outlying services that they need to perform that is outside their usual maintenance. So try to think of, reconstruction of headstones or removal of large rocks that would require the rental of heavy equipment outside of the norm. We felt that Kimbo met that requirement, and so they received the extra $320 that was the difference that was left in the pot. So that's where you see, or that's where you understand the rationale of this is why each cemetery received this certain amount of money, and this is why Kimbo was the outlier of that algorithm because of a special circumstance that would likely probably return back to a norm in the future, and that leftover money might be reallocated somewhere else, or it'll be divvied up amongst the rest if there's no special outlying request. However, just so that for the public's understanding, there is a rationale and use case for why the amount of money goes to each cemetery, and that's just defined by the amount of money that the township has set as approved by council.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, and so out of the $1,890 that's being allocated to Kimbo here, you're saying $320 is something that's above what the algorithm has determined it to be. That's great to identify, despite what their request is. I think my concern still falls that we have other groups that are asking for, one particular group asks for $5,000 and they're getting $5,140. Another group asks for $1,500, they're getting $1,520. I guess what I like to see in the future, and whatever, if that needs to come as a policy change, is it's if they had asked for $2,500, based on the algorithm, we're giving them $5,140. If they are able to work within the means, or they've asked for a specific amount of money, I think we make sure that that's met. And if we have a little bit more, maybe that gets saved in the pot for a future year when we don't have those means. I don't think we should be going above and beyond the request. That's, I guess, more my concern. And just good governance moving forward. I really think it looks, at least on paper, it looks a little awkward and inappropriate, but that's just my view. I don't know what direction you would need from council to review this in the future, whether we just let this be right now. It's not a substantial amount of money, but it's still principal. And I'll leave that to you to figure out how you want to address that. And other than that, that's all my questions.
Through the chair to Councilor Riley, I think an effective way next year that we'll probably explore writing the report and how the cemetery is explained is kind of explicitly noting the algorithm breakdown and why, from the township side, this is why we have allocated this amount of dollars per acreage, flat across the board, and to instill fairness. I don't think that was borne out of the report directly this time around, so I'll take that note for next time when we are explaining the cemetery grant, how it's broken down. We can explicitly break down the algorithm, why from our use case, this is why we are giving this amount of money, even if you are requesting less, just as a flat fairness rate to all 5 cemeteries there. But I do take the note that we could probably provide a little bit better information surrounding why that justification is made.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, just one more. I agree, the information and education point is great. I still think we need to revisit, and again, I don't know if you would like a direction now or if it's something we deal with later, that if someone asks for $5,000 and we can give them $5,000, they get $5,000, not $5,500 or $7,500. If the request is $5,000, we know that it fits the algorithm, we give them what they asked for. We don't go above and beyond. That would be my clarification question to you, what you would need to make sure that that's applied in the future.
Through the chair, council can make the amendment for sure, or we could just take this back for when we go through the budget deliberations by the end of the year, because that could also be borne out of direction when council decides to allocate this money. We can decide, because council had previously weighed in and decided on the acreage amount. We can revisit that through the budget and what we allocate for specific ones and meet a certain threshold. I think it would be more effective to be a part of the budget process, because that is where council decides how much money goes to what.
So can we do that at the budget time? And you don't need anything tonight to deal with that? Okay, we'll discuss that then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chichik, and then I have Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and I would certainly second Councillor Riley's request for the way we would change things, because it does seem sort of confusing as to whether or not why we would give them more if they asked for $5,000 and felt they could work within it. As well, I have a couple of questions, and one of them is exactly about that, the Junior Achievement Southwestern Ontario Award. And I'm concerned, and I think that there's a way we should be bringing these forward. If they are from outside of the community, I went to Junior Achievement when I was in Hamilton as a youth. It became something that was no longer very pertinent to what happened in Ontario, and they changed it back a number of years ago, and I do believe it functions to some extent in some of the schools. But I'm struggling. We have Fort that we're not meeting the financial commitments that they are looking for. We have 4-H, both of which run a little bit like this other one. They do have programs that we could ask for, and we know that they're doing it for a number of youth that belong in West Lincoln. And yet, without a program, because they need the money before they can give you the program, I'm finding it confusing that we would entertain that without an application and perhaps bring it forward without anything assigned to it until we were able to read what the application was for. And until such time, I would not be in favor, and so I'd like this split, because I would not be in favor of that grant for junior achievement of Southwestern Ontario, because we are not in Southwestern Ontario. I understand the need to bring new things here, but I also understand that with a limited amount of money that we should be thinking about how far afield we are going to go. Southwestern Ontario, I think, is London and past. So I'm not going to argue the point, nor do I need it made any clearer. I'm concerned that we have something here that is outside of our jurisdiction, where we do have things that are delivered in a similar manner, and we could be funding that, and we're not funding it to the extent that they're asking for. So I would like some way of leaving it blank and asking council if they wish to put an amount in that category for something outside of West Lincoln. So I do not want to vote on. I would prefer that was zero until we had a complete outline of what they were doing with $1,000 or $2,000. These amounts are so minuscule. And the other one I have a problem with is that West Lincoln Chamber, my understanding is raising that amount for, I know it's only $200, but I do think that they should be held at last year's rate. We did not, there's not an increase. We're not meeting their needs by any far stretch of the imagination, but the chamber is undergoing changes that may find a reduction in service, and certainly are looking at ways of reducing service levels to the community. So it would be inappropriate at this time until we understand what their final decision on delivering services to the businesses and community of West Lincoln should be there. So it surprises me that we've increased it. So I'm, again, something like Councillor Riley, looking at these and saying, golly, here we are at the report stage, and I'm asking for a change for the betterment of the community to stay at last year's rate. So there's some place we're missing something as well.
Just for curiosity, so one, you made some valid points here, Councillor Chichek. Are you requesting, I guess we need an amendment, you want one removed and placed somewhere, like some funding
On hold.
removed? On
Yes.
hold?
To see if we
And then we can, as council, I guess, deliberate where that funding should go? Or does it need to be determined this evening?
Well, I'm saying that we need to hold the chamber to the same amount as last year. I know a number of members of council have been somewhat concerned about services going outside the community. So until that is determined, we should hold them at the same amount as last year. And then we can go to discussions with them. Number two, that going outside the community without a game plan of what the money is going to be spent for, while we're not meeting the needs of organizations within the town, I really feel that that should be left at zero until we have an understanding of what they're going to produce. On top of that, somewhere, somehow, so as not to embarrass things and change it at the very last minute, there should be a criterion that says we're not going to increase, or we are going to increase before it's vetted by us and then brought forward as a final report, although it says recommended grants. So we are at a point where we can change the recommended grants. But I would like to do it before we got here. So my recommendation, or at least my want to change, would be that the chamber would be held at the same amount as last year, $1,300, and that the Junior Achievement Southwestern Ontario would be awarded a grant of zero until such time as they produce information on how they would proceed with the monies to be used within West Lincoln.
So with that, and I see you, everybody, I see everybody. Just hold on. So with that, Councillor, Mr. Clerk, do you need a motion from the councillor for those recommendations? Changes.
Through the chair to Councillor Chichak, if I'm understanding correctly, the only confusion part of this is this would be allowing the grant money to be released. So there would be a balance left on each of those grant categories, which we would need to come back with to approve the release of those final.
So there'd be a balance of, if I may, there'd be a balance of what, 1,700?
1,200.
1,200, sorry, 1,200, yeah.
I don't know.
1,200?
Yes, there would be, but it's not saying that we couldn't come back with something more of need. It's that council has that money to determine whether they will award something because we've gotten an outline, or that we've had discussions that, or clarification on what the chamber is doing. Things like that could happen, and there would be money sitting there that we could then use to award. It's not that we have to award everything that's in that pot at this moment, or we could look and say we would redirect it. I mean, there's another one where they asked for 400, and again, we're going to 410. It's not a lot of money, but it's the principle of what we're doing, and now here we are with minor amounts, but with the principle of what it is we're talking about. So it's not about deliberation here and now. It's about finding a way where we could have an understanding of the proposed grants and or a criteria that, if that will clarify it for the clerk, would say that without a work plan, we don't allow for grants outside of this community, new ones anyway.
And I wouldn't even be opposed, and I don't disagree, and I guess I will have like the will of council, but we still can reallocate that money somewhere.
We could reallocate it tonight, but I was
Exactly.
giving the benefit of the doubt and saying, you know what, if we put it aside, it doesn't corrupt anything. It
Correct.
stays in a budget, and we can find a reason or bring something back when we have a complete application. But I think that tonight, there's a message about at least the first one, the $200, and on the 1,000, I think that we just need more criteria so that people in West Lincoln don't feel that we are going outside that while we're not meeting the needs of our community.
Okay, so we'll hold that, and if you don't mind, Counselor, I can go to other members to see, but I'm sort of understanding, and I'm sort of really understanding, and makes a lot of sense to me. So, Counselor Maychuk.
Through the chair to the clerk, maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but I thought the clerk did explain that even though they're outside of West Lincoln, the purpose of the $1,000 was to educate 25 students that actually live in West Lincoln, go to school in West Lincoln, and I'd hate to deny those students the opportunity, that leadership and education, on the basis that the money is being used for those students that live here. So I just want to clarify that point. If that's the case, I will support it.
Mr. Clerk, can you explain the junior achievement where, because it does, Southwestern Ontario can go from, like Counselor said, well, we can go, the whole of the Golden Horseshoe can be Southwestern Ontario, right? So, can you explain that for us, please?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Maychak and to the benefit of the rest of council, that is just their name of the award. They do service multiple areas that we are in. I think they do Hamilton. I think they do Grimsby as well. It's just an experiential learning organization that operates based out of London, I believe. Council has approved organizations in the past that exist outside of West Lincoln. However, they were doing an event serving West Lincoln. This is similar to that type of event where they specifically, as I had mentioned when Councilor Riley was inquiring, the conversation from administration back and forth was that the money would have to be used within West Lincoln. We didn't want to put $1,000 in a pot to support a general cause. We wanted to make sure that the money stayed in West Lincoln. And in this case, that was the case, that they would hold the experiential learnings. I don't know which school, but they would pick a school in West Lincoln that would serve 25 kids. So the $1,000 basically allows that experiential learning to happen within West Lincoln. It's not a pot where you enter into and eventually you get it. The $1,000 allows you to hold that program.
So just for clarity and for my knowledge, to say, so this money, this $1,000 is staying in West Lincoln. It does not go to this Southwestern Ontario group by any means. It's for.
Yes, yeah.
It's invested? Okay.
So, yeah, to the chair, that is the case. The $1,000 simply unlocks the ability to hold that experiential learning in West Lincoln. They partner with, I believe it's a DSBN school, however, I think they also do some for the Catholic School Board as well. However, we made sure to note that the $1,000 goes directly to 25 West Lincoln kids.
Okay.
The original grant request was for 50. However, we hadn't done it before. We wanted to see if it was well received or received a lot of interest from the community. So we decided to do the 1,000, which would do 25.
Okay. So, Councillor Maychuk, you still have the floor. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I go to Councillor Riley next? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so, to you back to the clerk, the $1,000 is it safe to assume that $1,000 we keep saying is kept in West Lincoln? It's not kept in West Lincoln. It goes to this organization. They're offering service in West Lincoln, and we're essentially finding a creative way of saying, hey, we can get employment in West Lincoln if we offer this specifically to them. Is this 100% of the cost, or is it subsidizing some kind of other grant or funding from a school, from a board somewhere, whether it be the Catholic board or the public board?
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, I believe that they partner with the DSBN and share some type of cost. I know that the $1,000 goes to the organization, and then they have staff members or at least leadership people that they pay in order to go to a school in your area. So once we pay that $1,000, it notes that West Lincoln has paid, and so then they facilitate this experiential leader or expert to go to that area.
So, Mr. Chair, I think the problem is, and we've seen this with other situations before, when someone's new to our community, they usually take the time to come and make a presentation to council and present their case of how this is going to be beneficial to our community. To the best of our knowledge, we don't have that, and they're coming here asking for money. So I applaud what their initiative is, what their missions are, and I hope they're successful. I think at the current time, I would feel more comfortable seeing, and I'm going to mention the other one too, the other 400 that's got 400 last year, requesting 400 this year, and we're giving them 410. I don't know if that's a clerical error, because it's the only area where I think that kind of, well, I guess other than the chamber. I would ask that all the overage be kind of put in a pot here of 1210, we'll say, and that money is, maybe we show some leadership tonight and make a decision tonight where that money can be allocated. I like to see Niagara 4-H topped up. I'd like to see Fort topped up, and if there's anywhere else others would like to see, but I think tonight we can wear that a bit if that's the will of council. I would put that motion forward with Councillor Chichuk. I'm sure she sounded like she would
Mr. Clerk?
support that with me.
Through the chair to Councilor Riley, it might be more effective to refer back to staff to come back with a revised schedule with this, knowing that council has felt differently about the Junior Achievement Southwestern specifically to reallocate. I think right now, going through complicated motions, passing and failing, and then reallocating the math on top of that might be a little bit too much to be doing right now. We want to make sure that we're intentional with how we're doing it. I just mean if we pass removal of the $1,000 and then we're adding it over here, I think it gets a little messy and
So-
not as clear. So maybe a referral back to staff on the basis of reallocating that.
I'm not against the referral, but I think before assuming things are going to pass and fail, I don't mind being so bold to put one resolution forward and to see, we can kind of take consensus from council where people feel. But I would ask that if we could, my motion would be, just to kind of speak off the cuff here, is if we made 4-H whole and put the difference, the balance to Fort. If that motion could be simplified, as simple as that, and take a vote that way, and if that's unsuccessful, then I have no problem referring it back to staff. But I don't think we need to make this complicated. We don't need to look at a formula. I think we can just keep it as simple as that.
I just want to add, but I have some comments to add after, if that's okay. I kind of echo some of the comments that are made, and I see both sides of it, but we do, and I'm one as well, usually when some new organization does come, usually they do provide a presentation. I have no knowledge of it. I'm just hearing, obviously, from Councillor Maychuk and yourself what this junior achievement, I'd like some sort of a presentation or something to us to kind of understand it more is so I kind of agree with Councillor Riley there. Where I'm a little sensitive, again, is because of my comments last week. I'm not in favor, and I'm just going to speak honestly, of rewarding the Chamber of Commerce more money to go bring it outside for a winery restaurant to have a function where they didn't listen to me last year. So at this point, I'm not in recommendation of increasing them by any means. And there's no doubt how this council has seen me or has heard me in regards to this, and I will echo the mayor whose mayor's luncheon was brought to the Agricultural Society. She got it done in there with a local caterer. Is that correct? Or found a caterer locally that we can support. And just this evening, we had a luncheon that we had to do, and we brought in local. And again, to reward the chamber money by bring their at least awards dinner outside, that's me giving money for those events, and I can't be in favor of that. So I'm sorry. So we need to fix that somehow. How we do that, I don't know. So that's what I was saying. If it has to go back to staff, Councillor Riley, again, there's things that I want change, and there's things that you want change, and there's things that Councillor Chichuk wants change, and there might be something that council wants to stay the same. So this needs to, we got to find a way that this goes back to staff so we can come back with something. So I'm throwing it out there to you, members of committee. Your seasoned councilship can, I can see that some people want it to stay the same, and I can see some people want things changed. So what do we do as council here if we have to go back to staff, send the report back, and come back? I'm not sure what. It's in your hands right now, Councilor. I'm coming to you.
Well, I'm still willing to put the motion forward and see where it goes, and then from there, kind of pivot maybe to your idea, because I don't think this is something that staff need to labor over. I think it's pretty straightforward. We're 98% way to the finish line. This is the last 2%. Honestly, if we're talking about $1,212 or $1,210, if 500 of it goes to 4-H and the remaining balance goes to the Fort Foundation, the conversation's done. It's really mute at that point. So,
Councillor Chichuk?
I think the one underlying issue that we have to find a solution to, and that part could go back to staff and think about, is how do we do this in the future? Right. Because I don't want to sit here feeling like I'm neglecting someone's value proposition for something. And yet, Councillor Riley hit the nail on the head. Let them come and do a presentation to us. And then we include them in our grant participation for that year. But I'm just concerned. I've heard the clerk say we, and I don't know who we is, because we are here now and we are trying to do something. And this is late, in my opinion. And I'm embarrassed that we are are having this discussion. So I think Councillor Riley's amendment would be a good one. But I do think that underlying that, somehow we have to have this repaired so that this is a small pot of money. Let's do it right when it comes to council, and council should feel good about what it is that we're honoring these people with, not feeling that we're neglecting somebody. So I'll second his motion for that reallocation. And, but I do want staff to take the direction that you'll come back with something that isn't expected or isn't broadcast, and then we say, no, I'm sorry, Charlie.
Okay. So did you get part of that motion, Mr. Clerk? That Councilor Riley? Councilor Riley, you can say it again, just for the
Yes.
clerk's.
So maybe it helps if what clarity do you need?
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, so I'll have to do in segmented pieces because council will have to agree to the removal of that funding and then where it would be reallocated after. So that would be that the proposed $1,000 grant funding for Junior Achievement Southwestern Ontario be removed, and that the Chamber of Commerce funding, I haven't written this part yet, but that the funding for the
why
Chamber of
wouldn't
Commerce be
you-
removed, and then if that's agreeable,
Maintained at last year's level is what you said.
but the
Maintain.
proposed is higher, so it would be, the proposed would be, isn't that what?
Well,
is
the wording could
problem?
be maintained at last year's level.
It's
Last year's-
1,300
yeah.
last year, it's
Okay.
1,500 this year, so it was just to be maintained at last year's level.
Okay.
You could almost
Call that generous as well.
You can almost write that for all three, that all three be maintained at last year's level, which would also indicate 0 for the one that's in current discussion, and that from there, we can turn around. And do the motion there. Yeah, like why make it seem like it's make it more political than it be, right? So.
Which was the second one? I have the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, and which was the second?
So you have the Junior Achievement South.
I have
and
that
then
one
the,
as the same.
John McCaleb Mental Health, which was like a $10 difference, but still in maintaining principle and consistency. They asked for 400. We should give them 400. If we're going to change one, we got to change them all. It's not much of a difference. Frankly, I kind of think it might. I don't know if it was a clerical error because it's such a small amount in the request, but maybe there's a rhyme or reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if I may ask, why is there just a $10 increase there? Like
Above the ask.
above
I believe-
the ask? It just kind of looks a little like, it does look
I know
like
it look a little, through the
odd.
chair to Councillor Riley and to the rest of council, I know it may look a little odd, it's just based on, we have $10 left over, this was the lowest one, we gave it an extra $10. I mean, there's no real rhyme or
Well, it's
reason
not
for.
the lowest one. It,
Or
Case
one of the
Wildlands
lowest ones,
Association's
sorry.
200, but yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, if
Yes,
through
ma'am.
you feel that you need a conclusion about the money that's left over, that it be held for council consideration during the balance of 2025.
You-
Let's not get them too confused. Okay, but that's the intent.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk. Take your time. There's no
No.
rush.
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, there was indication that you wanted that reallocated to others, but then
No.
Councillor
so
Chichok said to stay that.
Councillor Chichok was just mentioning for like future reference. Right now, part of the resolution before us will be what we originally discussed.
Good to go?
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, this resolution, I believe, will make sense. You'll have the changes to the proposed rates, which is staff is putting on the table, so that is within the confines of the table that is actually being proposed. That the proposed $1,000 grant funding for Junior Achievement Southwestern Ontario be removed, and that the proposed funding for West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Jeff McKillcop Mental Health remain the 2024 rate. And then I believe that you wanted that remaining.
Yes, so and then, so it might be two sections here, and that 500 of, I don't know how you word it, but the 1210 be allocated to the 4-H Association, and that the 610 or 710 at that point be allocated to the Fort Foundation, or I should just say Fort, but Foundation of Resources for Teens. And just for those at home, this might seem so petty and not petty, but like miniature in some respect, but like $500 more for 4-H and $710 for Fort, like that's game changing to these organizations that have next to no funding and outside of this stuff. So again, when we have other organizations that are a little bit more robust trying to tap into the West Lincoln market, not that I have no sympathy for them, I appreciate the work they do, but this is just going to go so much further and have such a more meaningful impact to those close to home than maybe 20 students, which I think they would benefit from. But again, we're talking about, dozens of students that, are going to reap the benefits of this small little difference, so.
No, absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Broderick. I'm all ears.
I definitely agree with the junior achievement money being kind of stopped this year and redistributed to the other organizations. I'm just, I know it's small and the amount is, but it's more about the other organizations that are sitting there going, hey, how come we didn't get a little extra? The Legion wants to, put a couple of planters on their patio or whatever. I just question the not taking it back to staff for a redistribution on that list, with the exception of the Chamber of Commerce, as we had previously discussed. I'm not trying to muddy the waters, but I definitely would rather see staff redistribute the amount to the whole group.
So, I don't know if that was necessarily a question or just an expression.
Just a comment.
Yeah, because I don't do Mr. Chair. I think, again, we certainly can send this back to staff, and I want to go forward with the motion, so don't get me wrong, Mr. Clerk. I just think, considering how much time staff's already put into this, at this point, like I said, we're at the 98% mark. The few $100s, which is going to go substantially further with these two other organizations, and make a real meaningful impact on them. I feel like as council, we can show some of that leadership tonight and make that decision. Yeah, if some of the other organizations wish to be offended or choose to be offended, there's not much we can do about that. In the end, staff's going to go back and review it and probably come back with something similar. They're going to be in the same scenario. We just don't wear it. I have no problem wearing this if they want to reach out to me and express their disappointment, because they were not part of that inclusion. But I think, considering the organizations that are before us and how the community truly rallies behind our organizations and supports them, I don't see too many people being upset that we're actually trying to go a little extra mile for them with this money compared to the difference here. Because if you're okay with the first 1,000 kind of being removed, the other two is 210. I don't really see a difference there. So if you wish to vote against the motion, and like I said, if the motion is not successful, I will definitely support the idea of going back to staff. But I think at this point, we'd just be wasting more money, more time, having staff come back with something very similar to what we had before us.
Go ahead.
So through the chair to Councillor Riley, see if this resolution makes sense to you, that the proposed $1,000 grant for funding for junior achievement in Southwestern Ontario be removed, and that the proposed funding for West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Jeff McKilcott Mental Health remain the 2024 rate, and that the remaining $1,210 be divided, with $500 going to Niagara 4-H Association and $710 going to Foundation of Resources for Teens Fort.
That sounds exactly how I'd want it worded. Thank you.
And then, so that's Councillor Riley moving it. I'm guessing Councillor Chichok.
Councilor Chichak, you seconding that?
I can second that.
Comments or questions on the motion? Call the vote.
Should be up, right? Okay. What's coming up for me?
And that carries. Do we have to vote on the, as amended?
Yep.
The voting as amended would come up shortly. Councillor Chichak, as a liaison to the chamber, you can relay my message.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the words that have been used by this council have been relayed on a number of occasions to the chamber. The chamber is an independent organization, and we'll have to let them determine what their role is in this community as we move forward. But yes, your voices, all of your voices, have been heard loud and often.
Thank you.
So through the chair to councillor, to council as a whole, the resolution that will be in front of you will be as amended. It is the original motion. However, the final line was that the community sponsorships and the cemetery and hall board grants for 2025 as amended be approved, and that the proposed $1,000 grant funding for junior achievement in Southwestern Ontario be removed, and that the proposed funding for West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Jeff McKilcott Mental Health remain the 2024 rate, and that the remaining $1,210 be divided, with $500 going to Niagara 4-H Association and $710 going to Foundation of Resources for Teens Fort. So that will be as a whole. So that is with the report and the amendments that council had just approved of. If that's acceptable, I can put that on the floor.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk. Yes.
To the clerk, if I'm voting, if I didn't vote on the past amendment, I'm really now voting on the rest of the report that doesn't include that amendment?
Through the chair to Councillor Bradrick, you'd be voting on the totality of it, so that is including the amendment that was just made to the report, or to the recommendation of the report.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe next time we'll separate each one and vote on each one individually for you, Mr. Clerk. How about that? Coming. Anyways, good conversation, members of committee. Moving on to other business.
You have to announce that it was carried. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, that was carried, and that was carried. Moving on to other business, item CPS 1625, members of council, any other business of an informative nature. I'll start to my right, Councillor Chichak.
No, I think we've talked about everything I had to say already. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Riley.
Not tonight, sir.
Madam Mayor. Councillor Bradrick. Mr. Maychuk. Councillor Maychuk, nothing. And myself have nothing. Staff, all good? Okay, so we will adjourn this second portion to tonight's meeting at the hour of 7:51.